Every year, a number of depressed human beings decide that they've had enough and want to end their life. They choose to kill themselves by jumping off Vista Bridge in the Goose Hollow neighbourhood of Portland, in Oregon. And so they hurl themselves from the stone bridge high up onto the pavement below, onto the road, onto the railway tracks. Splat. In 2013, when annual suicides rose a little, that is from 2 people to 5 people, the city decided to put up temporary suicide prevention barriers at a cost of $200,000. Now they're considering spending a further $2.5 to $3 million on a more permanent barrier solution. This shows, to me, a staggering lack of wisdom. Firstly, the suicide prevention barriers do not prevent suicide. They sometimes deter it, but the committed jumper will scale whatever fence or wall or wires or metal or barrier they need to. This was proven when a jumper climbed over the newly erected barriers and scaled them and got round the other side and stood on the edge just like before, ready to jump. On this occasion he was talked out of it. I used to live right near the Vista Bridge, literally 3 minutes walk away, and its status as a National Historic Landmark is to me very well deserved. It was very beautiful. A lovely piece of architecture in a sublime little valley in the green hills of the city. Now, it's fucking ugly. Harmony between the land and this bridge has disappeared. The effect on the neighbourhood is palpable. By forcibly extracting beauty from the environment, the daily experience for thousands of Goose Hollow residents, and indeed Portland residents and visitors, is greatly diminished. A stunning location enjoyed by millions has been spoiled. Why? To help prevent suicides? No. The barriers exist purely for the convenience of those who don't want splattered corpses on the sidewalk and rail tracks. Understandably. They're not safety barriers. They have nothing whatsoever to do with helping suicidal people. It is therefore morally and ethically dishonest to pretend that the barriers are there to prevent loss of life. They are not. This makes us look broader into the question of suicide, not just this little bridge, but the whole thing. And according to recent figures from the National Institute of Medicine, about 85 Americans kill themselves every day, and that works out at about 31,000 a year. And the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have further noted that whilst suicide used to be primarily a problem with teenagers and seniors, it is now surging amongst the middle-aged for the first time. And it is known that there are way more suicides than we actually record. It's vastly underreported, says Julie Phillips, an associate professor of sociology at Rutgers University who published research on rising suicide rates. She said, "We know we're not counting all suicides. So probably more than 85 people a day kill themselves." Officials and researchers know that they can't explain what's behind the overall rise in suicides, which I find very strange, because I think the answer's pretty simple. Pretty straightforward, really. Why are more people killing themselves? Because people in terrible mental or physical anguish want to die, and modern culture produces more pain than it used to. It is a crushing observation to realise for oneself that global mainstream society is inhuman. Hundreds of millions of sensitive people find it hard to live amid this mass dysfunction. And without insightful communication and tutelage within an authentic metaphysical framework, the brokenness that we see around us is simply overwhelming. Frankly, until a person discovers an authentic spiritual path, they are playing roulette with their own well-being. I would estimate that the majority of the population of the Western world is withering inside from despondency. I'm surprised the suicide rate isn't 10 times that. Most people follow the cultural prompts that tell them that they can get by through medicating themselves with TV and movies and careers and sports and booze and drugs and dogma and routine. And at the time that I'm recording this, the total number of bridge jumpers in America since records began is as follows. I made a note of this. I find this interesting. 1,200 people have jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. 230 from George Washington Memorial Bridge in Seattle. 207 from Sunshine Skyway Bridge in Florida. 200 from Coronado Bridge in San Diego. 170 from Vista Bridge in Portland. And 55 from Cold Spring Canyon Bridge in Santa Barbara. And there's more. The list goes on, but you get the idea. Depressed people want out. Bridges are one way of achieving that. In my line of work, I've come to understand that ultimately no one can indefinitely disregard the inner impulse for spiritual engagement, for spiritual growth. They can run and hide and divert themselves, bury their heads in the sand, and even destroy themselves. But the universe won't let it go, so they come back. They arrive back on Earth as another little boy or little girl, and they go again. Same routines, same lessons, same curriculum, slightly different classroom, as you might say. We know this. For the mystics, suicide is not an option. It absolutely guarantees a return journey to the same set of life circumstances. Thousands of years of esoteric wisdom suggest that unresolved patterns are repeated in new incarnations until root problems are fully addressed, redesigned and repatterned. We have to face down the demons, confront what scares us, dissolve it with insight. Spend quality time with men and women of deep spiritual wisdom. Understand that the root of depression is being misaligned with one's inner truth. Who we are, what we're capable of, what we want, what we don't want. So putting barriers up on a bridge just reduces the number of splattered corpses on the street. Depression is misalignment. It can be corrected. Suicide, thoughts of suicide, arise when someone is out of ideas, exhausted. What renews and fills the soul of a human is light. In light, there is wisdom. It is the same we find in beauty, in being, in fellowship, in love. The adventure of spiritual development brings a definite strength and equity that makes any sort of sustained depression difficult. Because in living in alignment with our growth, we become part of the growth of the universe. We're no longer cut off from it, no longer alone. We have our fellow journeyers, one of the best things about life. We have a divine ordination flowing through our days. The random shabbiness ends. Miscarriages of being cease. Note this, all objects lead us astray. Only the silent illumination of growth brings abiding harmony. Hard light embodied for a moment, and then outward, a repose, tranquil, an adventure, flowering, a return.